different villages on the outskirts of Bukhara. You know how you push the animals to the center? That's your attack all the villages. And what's the purpose? Burn, destroy, and push all the people from the villages towards where? Bukhara. Why do you think he's doing this? What's the purpose?
To put stress on the city.
Exactly. So I want you to imagine if you're in Bukhara, what do you see? Right?
Refugees.
Tons of refugees. And what are the refugees saying?
Scared.
The horrors. What happened, and those barbaric people, and they do this, and they're incredibly violent, and then they're everywhere. The Mongols are coming from the north, south, east. How big are they? The army is everywhere. And in reality, it's the same people that you know. So now you have an image of a huge army surrounding you, and then people are flooding in the city with terror, and there, again, the city resources are being drained by all those people. Right? So now everybody is gathered in the center, and this circle starts to circle the city, right? And then they send to the city, plus the city is surrounded. The city had 20,000 soldiers of the Khwarezmian soldiers. It's a big size. And the people inside the city go, what should we do? Fight, not fight. Fight, not fight. What do you think happened? Don't fight. Let's go to Genghis Khan and tell him, if we surrender the city, let's negotiate, spare us. A part of them said, no, we want to fight. And the majority said, no, we don't want to fight. So a split happened. The people that wanted to fight went inside the citadel of the city. The other people negotiated with Genghis Khan. And Genghis Khan said, of course. And open the gates, I come in, everybody's here. Offer them peace. And they chose to do that. And they surrendered the city to Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, of course, walks in Bukhara. Everybody's safe, but he tells them there's one problem. There is a group of so-called terrorists resisting in the citadel. You need to get rid of them so that peace can prevail. And I need your help to get rid of them. So you wanted peace. Now we're one. You're under me, right? Here is my first command to you. You are going to help me get the terrorists out, get those people out. And the people of Bukhara ended up fighting the resistance of Bukhara. You see and yes, they took the citadel, and Genghis Khan started killing those people that resisted, must be what? Exterminated. So he killed all of them. Now we have peace. And it was Friday prayers. And people are gathered in the central masjid of Bukhara for the Friday prayers, and something interesting happened. The Khatib doesn't come up. Genghis Khan is going to give the Jum'ah khutbah. What? Can you say no? So he is giving the khutbah, and he gives a very interesting khutbah. He says the following: O people, know that you have committed great sins, and that great ones among you have committed these sins. If you ask me, how do I know that? What is the proof? It's because God, Allah, sent me and enabled me to rule the likes of you. I am God's wrath. He sends me on people that He wants to punish. So the fact that I'm here means that He is angry with you, and He wants to punish me punish you on my hands because of how evil you are, and you deserve the punishment. He came down and he ordered the soldiers. What was the order? Destroy. They have what they call kill quotas. So basically, as a soldier, you see a quota. Quota meaning what? 20 heads, please. 10 heads, please. If you don't bring 20 heads, your head will be the price. So go, come back. Every soldier has your quota for today. How many you kill? Basically, systematic destruction of the city of Bukhara. And the city of Bukhara faced a horrible massacre. Right? And they burned the library, they destroyed, it was a horrific act. Thousands of people died. But Genghis Khan did two things. Anybody with technology, step on the side. Why? We need you, right? We don't have technology, right? And the second thing, a lot of the men, he spared the men. And he took them as prisoners of war. And people didn't understand why. And he did the following: the group of men, you have to fight with me. By force, every 10 of you will carry a flag, and you will be in the front of my army. So you have 50,000 to 100,000 men. Why do you do that?
Spare your own people.
So one is what? Now, what is the size of the Mongol army now? Get it? So when people look from afar, it's like, oh my God, right? And then he's putting them where? In the front. If you don't fight, we'll kill you. So I'm going to meet Muslims with what? The Muslims of Bukhara. Later on, he figured out that it didn't work very well because Muslim fighting a Muslim, right? So he figured later on a very interesting technique. He said, well, the people you take from Bukhara, the Muslims, you use them when you fight the Christians. And the people you take from Christians, you use them to fight the Muslims, you see? So if he takes you into the war in Russia, and you're like, the Mongols are behind you and the Crusaders are in front of you, what would you do? You'd fight. Right? And you see how evil that is. Making people fight for their lives, making people kill. It's very demonic. It's very ugly. And then psychological warfare, when people ask, why are you keeping us? What do you want? Why are you taking us with you? And by the way, the Athir says, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, you'll be killed. There is no room for you, like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, ma'asalam. Like. So when people ask, why are you taking us with you in this campaign? And he says, imagine the psychological warfare. And he says, pray we don't run out of food.
Oh.
Why are you taking us with you? Pray we do not run out of food. What does that mean? Yeah, if we run out of food, 1 in every 10. Did the Mongols really do that? But you see that the psychological warfare. Some reports say sometimes they did that, but the idea is what? The rumors. And therefore, Mongols, the rumors, they eat the meat of humans. Mongols are Ya'juj or Ma'juj. You see what he's trying to do? This is Ya'juj or Ma'juj. They're numerous barbarians, you can't face them, they're unbeatable. They don't know defeat. Their horses, they can dig with their hooves and eat. Mongols know the news of everybody and nobody knows anything of. Mongols never surrender. Mongols are monsters. So now this news is starting to spread among the Muslims. Right? Why did he did by the way, this khutbah, it's an interesting thing. Why did he do that? I mean, if you want to destroy Bukhara, why bother give a khutbah? Just kill people. What was the point of this? I don't know if you see it. This is very damaging. What he's doing here is extremely damaging. What is the source of strength of Muslims? Allah, including Gaza. Why are people like, nobody's helping them, they're being killed? What's making them hold like this? You can attack me, you can kill me. You're the oppressor and Allah is my wali. Allah's on my side. I can make dua. I'm back, I have Allah, I'm holding to his rope. What is he doing here? What is he telling me? Allah's not on your side. No. You're evil. Allah hates you. You know why this is happening to you? Because you're bad. Don't look at me. It's not me who's punishing you. Who's punishing you? Allah. Can you make dua now? You will see later, Allah, when he sends letters, you say, وَدُعَاكُمْ عَلَيْنَا لَا يُسْمَعْ. You literally, like, your dua against us will not be heard. Why? Because you eat that which is not halal, and you do this, and you do your wrong this, and you كما قال Allah, as Allah says in the Quran. Literally, they would write that to the Muslims. Right? So basically, the idea is this is God's punishment on us. God is punishing us. So God is punishing me. Where do I run? You get the idea? Where is my source of strength? He cut that rope. We'll see later when people with knowledge, when he did this with them, you will see the response. We'll see it with the Mamluks. When he attempted, and you will see very interesting response. But you see that the element of what? Psychology. it's very also dangerous to tell people that, when something bad happens, God is punishing. Be careful. Be careful from that statement. We don't know. Is it maybe Allah's expiating the sins? Maybe it's just a test. But when we tell people this happened to you because God is punishing you, it can lead to a person of what? Khalas, if Allah is the one that's punishing me, I give up. The response that we saw from the Muslims is what? Trauma. Fight. Fight is an option. Flight is an option. What is the third one? Freeze. Give up. And this is what he wanted. Right? And then what he did now, he takes everybody and marches towards the city of Samarkand. Right? Samarkand, very powerful city, very glamorous, right? Again, the Muslim POWs are forced to fight, but Samarkand has a garrison of 50,000 Khwarezmi soldiers. Right? Not only that, the people of Samarkand, led by the scholars, gathered themselves, and 70,000 of them, strong people, went and said, we are ready to fight, and the scholars are leading. So 70,000, 50,000, 120. And we have war elephants. MashaAllah, good army. So we need to fight. We go out, meet the army of Genghis Khan, and just fight him. The Khwarezmian soldiers, mercenaries, they're not in it for a cause, they're in it for money. And now they heard the news of Bukhara. So they decided, we're not going out. We fight them behind walls. We're not going to the open against the Mongols. Those 70,000 led by scholars decide, okay, no, and they talk and they take some of the war elephants, and they said, we're going to fight, and we're going to fight Genghis Khan in the battlefield. And 70,000 people, led by scholars and war elephants, go out of the city of Samarkand to meet the army of Genghis Khan himself. And at the walls of the city of Bukhara, right, and the city of Samarkand, a battle starts happening. And in the beginning, the battle was very fierce. And the Muslims, led by scholars, threw everything at Genghis Khan, right? And especially the war elephants, huge, right? And it seemed that, they were very steadfast. And Genghis Khan army started to fall back. And it seems Allah's granting victory to the Muslims. And then Genghis Khan starts retreating, and the Muslim army starts chasing, right? And then, as they chase the army of Genghis Khan, they discover it's a trap. What he wanted to do, see, those people have a problem. What is it? They're very sincere, very zealous, very good. They have no idea of strategy. They don't know strategy. They're sincere. They worship Allah. They have scholars, but scholars don't know the art of war. It's not enough to be righteous, right? To win battles. We need both. Both. We need someone who knows the strategy and thinks and righteous. So the problem here, they're good people, they're zealous, they fight well, but they don't have an idea of how to run battles. So they just followed, only to discover they're luring them away from the city. And they have prepared a trap. And they surrounded the people of Samarkand. And the real battle started. And it said it was a disaster. But the Muslims, again, surrounded, and they started fighting. They want to break the siege, right? And they keep fighting, and eventually they succeed in having an opening, right? And okay, alhamdulillah, we broke one side. Once you see that, let's get out of here. And as they're getting out of here, unfortunately, this was another technique of the Mongols. They learned that from animals. When they tell you do not corner a mouse? Have you heard that before? Do not. Why? If you corner a mouse, what will he have to do?
Fight.
I'll have to fight to death. So they learned that if you have an enemy and you surround him like this, completely, they will cause a lot of damage. The best thing is give them hope. Make a small opening. Once you give them a small opening, they lose cohesion. As long as they're fighting together, me back to back with you, we're good. But once I see an opening, I start thinking, what I can escape. Notice, I. Not we, I. I start running, you start running. But when we're running to escape, everybody's thinking about himself. We're not organized. Once the unity is broken, as you're running, now you can be picked on the way. And then to discover that only they have prepared another merge for you. But you come into that now, everybody in this array, already the idea of running is in my head. That's when the slaughter happened. And this was a big, a complete disaster. How many people survived? No survivors. The 70,000 Muslim army of Samarkand, the best of the men of Samarkand, died in that battle. Now, with Allah, those are martyrs. They're in Jannah, it's good. I mean, nothing is lost. The idea for us is what we learn, that it's not sufficient to be just zealous. It takes more than that. The art of war, we have to plan, we have to have strategy. It doesn't take just a good faith and good sincerity. This is crucial, but strategy is important as well. Right. Now, when that happened, Genghis Khan now returns and surrounds the city of Samarkand. What do you think now the Khwarezmian soldiers did? Obvious. Surrender. So they offer Genghis Khan, well, you know what, we don't want to fight, just like let us go out, we leave the city for you. And originally he says, of course, but one thing, I don't want you to fight against me again. We agreed. He said, but well, to make sure, when you go out, leave your weapons. I don't want 50,000 with their weapons to leave. Right? I want to make sure you're not fighting me again. So, khalas, leave, drop your weapons, go. And they go out, drop their weapons. And once they drop their weapons, I don't need to tell you what happens. Obvious, right? He finishes off another 50,000. Now Samarkand is entered, and now Samarkand is a city that resisted. So what must happen in Samarkand? It must be an example. So what happened in Samarkand was, this time there is no prisoners of war. Everybody. The message is, you cannot surrender. Sorry, you cannot fight. If the moment you took a decision to fight, the penalty is 100% death. But think twice before you fight, and you can see how brutal that is. We're speaking 750,000. I mean, I don't know if you know, do you realize the numbers we're speaking about here? In this year, 617, it is said the area had a population of 3 million, 2 to 3 million by some scholars. By the end of this year, it was reduced to 200,000. Just 90% of the people. This is how brutal and gruesome the Mongols. This is why Ibn al-Athir, when he writes about this, he writes about what? The end at the end. Right? Those people, and he even says, we've never seen people like that. People fight for what? For money. People fight for loyalty. People fight. He says those people, it's as if they're fighting and their goal is to exterminate the other races. They're not interested in power or money. They're interested in extermination. It looked like this to the Muslims, right? Now the news of Samarkand spreads, right? And of course, Genghis Khan now announces that his armies now go to the other cities. Right? Muhammad ibn Khwarizm now is in Uganda, right? And the news are coming to him. Genghis Khan issues a command. He assigns only 20,000, he picks 20,000 of his troops, gives them one mission. Your mission is, go find Muhammad ibn Khwarizm himself and bring him in front of me, even if he's hiding in the clouds. I want him alive. So they were tasked with one thing. No, find Muhammad ibn Khwarizm. How many are they? 20,000. Those 20,000, they start leaving, and now they head to Uganda. Muhammad ibn Khwarizm hears they're coming. What do you think he did? Runs. Leaves Uganda. Now they're not interested in taking a city. And when they go to Uganda and people hear, we're not here to destroy the city. Where is Muhammad ibn Khwarizm? Oh, he headed to Naisapur. We need food. Here is the food, but leave us alone. So they, at that point, they were not interested in occupying cities. Their target is what? Where is Muhammad ibn Khwarizm? And interestingly enough, those are 20,000. This is deep in the Muslim territory. They can be surrounded and killed in no time. Why nobody wanted to do that? Yeah. What will happen if you did? Who's going to come if you do anything to them? You're the next one. So people are like, okay, you're after Muhammad ibn Khwarizm, not me. Okay, here he is, just go. Right? And then the race happens. Muhammad ibn Khwarizm running to Naisapur, right? And then running away to other cities like Maru, like Rai, like Herat, and as chase happens, right? The Sultan Muhammad ibn Khawarizm on the run, and 20,000 are following him. And look at where they go. This is deep in the Muslim territory. You're speaking about the distance. And yet the fear was so much, which is the interesting part, that this is the psychological defeat. When people are defeated psychologically, nobody is stopping them at all. They can do whatever they want. And everybody is just at their disposal. And Muhammad ibn Khawarizm ends up in the Caspian Sea. And he finds a boat. And he said he rides the boat, goes to the sea closely. The Mongols follow, throw arrows at him, and there is no other boats, and he disappears inside the Caspian Sea. We know that the last of him, he found a small island, and he lands. And he lived in extreme poverty, in a small fort house there. All what he had is a bed and one dress. This is the Sultan Muhammad ibn Khawarizm. And few days or months later, he dies in that place. And so what a lesson. أينما تكونوا يدرككم الموت. You cannot run from death. You are going to die anyway. There is a big difference between dying this way and dying in the battlefield. You see, like, what did you gain? You spared yourself a couple of months. The Sultan, Khawarizm Shah, Muhammad ibn Khawarizm, of this Central Asia, runs and dies this. And this was very, very troublesome for some, because why did this happen to him? Right? What went wrong, kind of? This man, when you read his biography, it looks good. Like if you read his biography, well, Muhammad ibn Khawarizm, patient, hardworking, on deeds of the Akhirah, slept very little, endured great fatigue, served his companion, he was generous, did not indulge in comfort or find pleasure in it. His clothes and horse is like very cheap, basically. His main passion was driven by the matters of ruling and kingship. He was virtuous, knowledgeable in jurisprudence and fiqh, held scholars in high esteem. He loved talking with them and sought blessings from the people of knowledge. He accompanied the great scholar Fakhruddin al-Razi, right? So when you look to this, that looks like a good man. Those are all good traits, personal traits. The real problem was, remember what was it? He had one terrible aim, arrogance. Power is like, this is what, again, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, two hungry wolves let loose among a stock of sheep will not do more damage than one's love of wealth and status will do to his own deed. He's giving an analogy. You bring a stock of sheep, you let two wolves loose. They want to destroy everything. He said a person with iman, but if he has the love of wealth and status and power, this will do to his iman, the destruction it will cause is the same like two hungry wolves among a stock of sheep. Now, I always like to say this. Why did the Prophet ﷺ say wolves, not lions? I mean, lions are more powerful. What is the trait of... Animals have traits, by the way. So wolves are different than lions. Lions hunt. Lions are predators. They're aggressive. They're much more powerful. Have you watched a lion hunt before? When lions hunt zebras, what do? How many do they catch? You target one. One is enough. You target one, you get the zebra, and then you go for the what? You go for the neck. You kill it. Then you eat. What about the rest of the zebras? One is good enough. Wolves have a disease, a spiritual curse. So they see a stock of sheep, they bite the first one, not from the neck, from anywhere. And they start eating. But then there's a second sheep. What do? That one too. Oh, there is a third one. Fourth one, fifth one. You're not going, and then what do? They destroy the entire stock. And they eat how many? One. This more. Humans have that with money. How much is enough? You think that when people get 1 million, they'll be happy? You think so? 10 million, you think so? Don't you notice the most greedy people are the richest? Don't you saw that nations that attack and are always the strongest? You, alhamdulillah, you have so many good things. No, they have oil over there. With this is nothing, I need their oil. And him too, and him. This is a disease. It's called hirs. And humans have that with money, but worse with power. And people that are in power, sometimes even in masajid, that they're not leaving their seat. You sit there, you're not leaving. You know what I mean? And I can kill my son, I can kill my son. It happens. Right? So Muhammad ibn Khwarizm, that was his problem. He did not, as Ibn Kathir says, he killed everybody else. Look, his pride, his overconfidence. He used to say, Muhammad, Yansur Deen Muhammad. Muhammad, me, we bring victory to the deen of the Prophet. He sought to be like Alexander the Great. Right? So his aspiration, his arrogance, his pride, that is destructive. That was the lessons of the downfall of Muhammad ibn Khwarizm. That ailment is destructive ailment, right? That befalls people. Now, by the way, those 20,000, once Muhammad ibn Khwarizm escapes, they did something really interesting. I'm not going to discuss it here. They did not return this way. They started going through Europe. They started continuing north. And they encountered Christians in Russia. And they fought Christians, defeated Christians, and they made a whole circle and returned from the north. Right, which is very interesting. Right? So now the Christians are starting to feel the Mongols a little bit. Right? First encounter, kind of. And they reported what they saw. It's kind of an expedition around the Caspian Sea, Russia, like what's going on in there, right? Anyway, now the next step for Genghis Khan is again, and I'm sorry it's so gruesome. The problem with today is there's a lot of downfall today. Right? So I please attend tomorrow, because I don't want you just to see the Muslims doing this and then ends at the bottom, right? Tomorrow is inshallah what? You'll see it not only up, you'll feel the strength, you'll really feel it, right? Inshallah. So here now, with the leader gone, now the city started demanding fatwas from the scholars. What is the fatwa? A new contemporary issue. Let's say I'm from the city of Tel, a small city of Tel, right? The Mongols are coming and surrounding the city. Am I allowed to surrender? Let's say you're a sheikh, and you receive people of Tel is asking, the Mongols are coming, they're going to slaughter everybody. Are we allowed to surrender the city? Should we fight to death? Or are we allowed to spare our lives? It's okay to surrender the city. How many people say no, fight to the death? How many people say no, surrender the city? There is the rules. You get the idea? It became what? An issue. And there is no right or wrong. We don't people, it's a very, those who say no, fight to the death, I say, yeah, because you don't have children, it's my children here. When you decide to fight, it's for you, but you're not. You can't decide for my kids. Right? And the people that are taking the rukhsa, people say like, if everybody takes the rukhsa, who will stop them? You see the idea, it became a very contemporary issue at the time. But that was something now scholars had to face. And they would say, the soldiers are running. Those Khwarizmi soldiers, what do you want me to do? I cannot depend on them. So do I have permission now to save myself? You get the agony that the Muslims were facing, right? And of course, the Genghis Khan destroys the city of Termit, heads to the big city of Balkh, and here something interesting happens. The city of Balkh decides to do what? We are not going to wait for Genghis Khan to come. We go out to him before he marches. And we offer to surrender the city beforehand. So a delegation from the city of Balkh went and met Genghis Khan way before he comes and offered, we are from Balkh, you know what? We're here before you come. Here is the city. Will you spare us? And Genghis Khan was very happy with this. Right? And he offered, indeed, since you came, you are going to be spared. Deliver the city. And they agree and give him the keys of the city of Balkh. And Genghis Khan enters the city of Balkh. What happens? No, true peace. Gives them peace. Of course, peace. Why? I mean, it's not he became kind all of a sudden, right? What's going on here?
They did not resist.
So the message is, you come before I come. If I come, too late. Right? So the only hope you have is what? you come forth. This is one. The second, we call this in psychology intermittent reinforcement. What does it mean? You know the concept of reinforcements, right? Reinforcement, my son says, Baba, can I have candy? No. Baba, can I have candy? No, right? Baba, can I have candy? No, right? Or the opposite. If you do your homework, I'll give you candy. If you do your homework, I'll give you candy, right? So you can see here it's a consistent either yes or no. Intermittent reinforcement is the following. They use it in gambling. Because you know gambling? You go for like the machines, you lose. You lose. You lose. You lose, then what happens? You win one time. Now, because it happened, did it happen every time? Happened once. But now, because it happened once, what is the lesson? So if next time I lose, what will I do? So if my son, Baba, can I have candy? No. Baba, can I have candy? No. Baba, I can have candy? No. Baba, can I have candy? Okay, here. What have I done? What have I told him? Next time, keep asking. Don't give up. You get the idea? So Genghis Khan is doing what? I can destroy 3, 4, but maybe you're the next win. It's like gambling, right? And it's addictive. So he used intermittent reinforcement. But kill, spare. Kill, spare. So everybody has what? Maybe it's me, maybe it's me, maybe it's me. You see? The reason I'm telling this is so when you think about it, this is like shaitan. This is what we call shaitaniness. And unfortunately, those traits, there are some humans with that type of trait. Meaning what? Deception, manipulation, intention. This is evil. Right? But it does exist. And then the price of surrender was what? We need to march towards the city of Maru. Now the city of Balkh, you surrendered, right? Now you have to help me fight. You're a part of my kingdom. You help me open the neighboring city of Maru. And he takes a big army, right, from Maru and goes to the city of, and again, I'm not going to go to the details. He goes to the city of Maru and he finds that there is a Khwarezmian army of 200,000 waiting. And a big battle happens. And Ibn Kathir describes this battle, and I want you to notice the psychology. The Muslims showed great deal of steadfastness and patience. However, the Mongols do not know defeat. What is that telling you? It's almost saying what? It's not our fault, but those people, the belief is what? They're unbeatable. The Mongols do not know the word defeat. You see that this psychological defeat is the reason why people lose. Right? This was the secret weapon, I think, of Genghis Khan. And then what happens? The Muslims fall, they take and destroy the city of Maru, and it keeps happening, right? Attacks happen again, I support, Khawarizm, and I'm not just going to go through the details, right? Basically, the whole area here falls to Genghis Khan. Now remember, all this is in 1 year. This is the year 617. This is the year that Ibn Athir is saying what? I wish I had never seen this. How many people died? You're speaking like hundreds of thousands, millions, right? You're speaking what? Samarkand, Bukhara, Pyramid, Maru. I mean, he's taking the whole area. Now he starts what? Afghanistan is next. So he sends a part of his army. Now, khalas, Muslims are being on the run, so it doesn't send up, go get yalla, let's go for Afghanistan next, right? But something happens in Kabul. The son of Muhammad ibn Khawarizm, Jalaluddin, right? He was in Kabul and he starts gathering the remnants of the Khwarizmians. Also, some people of the neighboring cities, especially Turks, gather with him. So he started gathering a big army. Among them was a very powerful Turkish general by the name of Sayfuddin Bughra. You don't have to remember the name. But this general was known for what? Bravery. And he was not afraid of the Mongols. He used to tell them, put me in the front. I see those Khwarezmian soldiers, you guys are afraid from them. I'm not. So put me in the front. I'm not running away. Right? And he was in the front of the army. And Jalaluddin, when this small expedition came from Genghis Khan, he faced them in the battle. Right? And that was round 2. So here we have the Battle of Parawan Valley, right? Where about 30,000 of Genghis Khan troops come, and they see Jalaluddin with what, 60,000. right? And Jalaluddin decides what? It's time to fight. And Sayfuddin Bughraq starts the attack, right? And he attacks, and the battle happens, right? And the Muslims are not running away, and the Mongols do their things, but the Muslims are steadfast, and specifically Sayfuddin Bughraq is in the head and really like courageous. And nighttime comes. Next day they wake up. What's the difference? I don't know if you've seen. What happened? Reinforcements arrived. And the army in front of them tripled, if not quadrupled. And now the talk is we cannot fight them. They're coming daily. And the talk is what? Retreat. Sayfuddin Bughraq, no retreat, attack. And despite that, him with Jalaluddin, they attack, and a battle starts, and fierce battle starts, and you know what? The reinforcements are not attacking. The reinforcements are sitting, and the battle is happening here, and the Mongols are starting to be crushed to the extent they dismount. When they dismount, you know what it means. Dismount meaning I'm fighting to the death, that's it. And subhanAllah, the Muslims are starting to be victorious and they're apprehensive. What do you think is going on? They're not attacking. Why? That's what they thought, the trap. They probably want to like lure us and do something because it doesn't make sense. You know what it was? Those were not real forces. Those were ponies, right? With what? Dummies on top of them. It's like, so the Mongols did what? They wanted to appeal. So what did they do? Remember, 1 to 5? So I'm fighting on a pony, I have 4 other ponies. Let's put dummies with fake helmets and stuff. So I'm from, another army came, and then stop. What's the lesson here? Sometimes Shaitan does this to us. You cannot do it. And he inflates the odds, and it looks impossible. And then when we decide, Bismillah, we take a step to discover what? It wasn't that scary after all. It's a psychological defeat. And that is not only in the battlefield, that's also in the spiritual. You're going to do qiyam. You know, I'll tell you a story. This is real. I one time was actually asking advice from a sheikh, and I was telling him, like, you know, qiyam, sometimes you get used to it. And I was telling him, I'm not concentrating. You know, when something becomes a habit, you do it, so you're doing it like autopilot. So what's the solution? You know, it's becoming alhamdulillah, I'm doing some, but it's autopilot. And the sheikh said, no, yeah, it's good, pray 8 rakahs, that's good, but break it, one night, pray only 2 rakahs, not 8. And then he told, yeah, you pray 2 rakahs with 1/3 of the Quran. What do you think I did? And he said, yeah, of course, you can do that. 1 rakah, 2 rakahs with 1/4 of the Quran, 1/3 of the Quran. Yeah, we do those things every now and then. And I was like, yeah. What happened inside of me is what? It's like, what is he speaking about? What do you mean? You know, 10 juz? 10? Now you pray 1 juz in Tarawih, and you did 10, you wanted to pray 10, 2 rak'ahs, 5 juz? I mean, is it doable? No. And then I said, wait a minute, why not? He didn't ask me to do it every night. What if I said once in my lifetime? Why not? Once in my lifetime in a weekend, I say, you know what? Tonight, let me do this. And guess what? It's doable. And wallahi, one time I said it in a khutbah, the next week, some young brothers came and said, we did it. Of course, if you know Arabic, right? Meaning what? And the way the sheikh spoke, yeah, you can do that, of course, why not? Why? Who said it's not? And I discovered he's right. It's a limiting. I'm convincing myself, this is Abu Bakr might do that, the Prophet, but me? Who says? That is shaitan. Of course you can do that. Of course you can. I want you to do the tasbih today. 5,000. No. 500. No. Everyone here, you can do 5,000. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. You can. I'm not joking. You can. It's doable. But we're defeated when we convince ourselves it's impossible. But when you do it, you discover what? It's fake. It's same thing like this. It is just إنما ذلكم الشيطان يخوف أولياءه, right? This is shaitan putting fear. It's not even real, right? So that was the lesson here, right? So that was a first Muslim victory against the Mongols, and people were so happy. Finally, Jalaluddin. Finally, Muslims, we are, and then news spread and cities started to revolt, Mysore and Yallah, the resistance is winning, right? And now Jalaluddin rises to power, but something happens. Sometimes Muslims are weak, not when, Muslims are defeated, not when they're weak, when they're rich. After the war, lots of ponies, lots of war booty, and guess what happened? The army of Jalaluddin, the Khwarezmians versus Sayyid Bughraq, the Turks, they started differing regarding who takes who. The horses, the ponies, right? And they started arguing. And then their voices started to get louder. Then swords came out. And then started killing each other. And they killed the brother of Sayyid Bughraq. And he was so offended. I did what I did, and now I asked for some horses, and you just. So he decided to do what? I am not going to help you anymore. Is this what I get for helping Muslims? You do not deserve help. And he retreated with his strongest troops. Other troops, they saw that, they started deserting. What's the problem with this attitude? When we decide to help the Muslim Ummah, sometimes we're going to face problems from whom? The people we're trying to help. Sincerity is about, I'm doing this not for you, for the sake of Allah. So if I got frustrated, Wallahi, I tried to help this masjid. When people in the Middle East, they go to the masjid to pray, and the first thing that happens, you go out and somebody took your shoes. I don't know if you guys know what I mean. That happened to me. Just leave your shoes and you go out. Wallahi, I'm not coming again to the masjid. But who's going to lose? Congratulations, that was a test. So you're going to let the Muslims be defeated because of some fools? You see the attitude? I know it's not fair, but who is going to pay the price of this? So now the troops of Jalaluddin starts deserting. And he's left with 30,000. The news of the defeat reaches Genghis Khan. Now what happens? Genghis Khan is coming with the full army. And Jalaluddin realizes, I cannot face him with 30,000. So Jalaluddin decides, okay, it's time to retreat. Right? And he leaves, Kabul, starts heading south, trying to go into India, the Ghuris, right? By the way, one problem with Muhammad ibn Khwarezm, he fought everybody. Remember what we said about Muhammad ibn Khwarezm? He fought the Ghuris, the Muslims, he even fought the Khalifa in Baghdad, by the way. He tried to take Baghdad for himself because he might be the Khalifa. He fought everybody. Right? So there is no good relations at all. But again, Jalaluddin's hope was maybe I can go to India. And there is a river. And he goes to the river waiting for the ships. And the army of Genghis Khan captures him or meet with him at that river. River is behind him and the army is in front of him. And it was a fight. And Jalaluddin fought well. It was a tremendous fight. But at the end of the day, it was hopeless. And Jalaluddin runs with his horse and jumps into the river. And he swims. He saves himself, but he can see on the other side his own wife, his own kids, telling him, don't leave us into the hands of Genghis Khan. By the way, in the campaigns here, remember the mother of Muhammad ibn Khwarezm? Genghis Khan troops found her. So Muhammad ibn Khwarezm, he ran. His wife, his mother, his sisters, his children were all captured by Genghis Khan. What does he decide to do? Kill, sell in slavery, and the girls, now they're slave girls. And he starts giving them to his children. Oh, this was one day a princess. Now she's your slave girl, do whatever you want with her. And we see the same thing happening with Jalaluddin children, unfortunately, right? But Jalaluddin runs into India and disappears. Right? And the hope that Muslims had, again, you can see, because of what the love of the life of this world, fighting, instead of uniting, you fight over war booty, that was not a good thing to do. One thing also that happened here that I skipped quickly, the soldiers, the Khwarezmian soldiers, when they won, they were so angry at the Mongols. So they decided when they captured some Mongol prisoners, they would put a man and then get an iron rod and a hammer, and they put it in his ear. And why is that bad? The Mongols are terrible people, right? So now when the Muslims captured them, they were so angry, so they decided to do what to them? Revenge. And revenge is what the same wanted to do. Is that permissible? Why isn't al-ayn bil-ayn? You know, the forgiveness is better, but what about justice and punishment? So if somebody wronged me, am I allowed to ask for justice? Yes. And I'll give you an example. Somebody killed all my children. Can I kill all his children? But you're telling me to kill one person, he killed 10. Islam says what? What is the rule?
Just to that person.
Just to that, if he killed 100, only him. If I end up, oh, he killed 50 people, I have to kill 50 of his people, I'm an oppressor like him. So congratulations, you became the monster you claim to fight. I know of a nation that said they were tortured in World War II. Terrible things happened to them. And they were victims and under the feet of the Nazis. And when God gave them power, what did they end up doing? Ironically, you of all people, becoming the monster you claim to have. You see the irony? So in Islam, when we fight monsters, our way is different. The prophetic way is I fight monsters, but I cannot become the monster I claim to fight. I cannot become a kafir. They don't have a book of ethics. I do. They have no morals. I do. They have no taqwa. I do. They do not believe in the hereafter. I do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَنْ يَنْفَعَكُمُ الْيَوْمَ إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ أَنَّكُمْ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُشْرِكُونَ. You know, when somebody steals and say, oh, he stole my property, I steal his property. Allah say, okay, it will do you no good on the day of judgment that both of you will be in hellfire together. Okay, he's going to hellfire. You want to join? You get the idea? He's selling his hereafter. I don't want anybody to take my hereafter. Right? So that's an important lesson. Right? Now we end up with this situation. The Mongols take over all this area. Right? And nothing is left of Khawarizm except this thin piece of land that is now a buffer between the Mongols and the Abbasi Khilafah. And subhanAllah, it's as if Allah spared the Muslims and gave them a respite. The Mongols decide to stop, head elsewhere, and now a vacancy happens here, and the first wave of the Mongol invasion stops. You would think that Muslims would do not now what? Regroup, right? But here there is a power vacuum. So one of the children of Muhammad ibn Khawarizm, you don't have to remember the name, Ghayath al-Din, comes up and he starts, okay, I'm the rightful ruler of this land. But then the Khalifa does not like that, because the Khalifa has some beef with the Khawarizmis, right? So he sends to his uncle, telling him, you know what, I support you, you're on my side. And a war happens between Ghayath al-Din and his uncle. And the Muslim armies meet in the battlefield, a man against his uncle, and the Muslims are killing each other while the Mongols are there. And Ghayath al-Din ends up killing, whatever, and taking control of the region, right? And it doesn't stop there. What happens? Somebody comes back to power. Now that the Mongols are not there anymore, who comes back? Jalal al-Din. India is not very, good and so Jalal al-Din comes back, proclaiming power, gets parts of the soldier, fights his own brother, and takes over the region. Once he takes over the region, what is the next step? Like his dad, expansion. Where would you expand? So instead of going to the Mongols, we decide to do what? Fight everybody, which is completely unknown. Everybody meaning what? I'm going to fight the Georgians, the Kurds. I'm going to fight the Armenians. I'm going to fight the Seljuks. I'm going to fight the Ayyubis. And I'm going to fight the Abbasis. So it ends up in what? Everybody gathers an army. Everybody, the Ayyubiyin, and they meet Jalal al-Din in a battle, Muslim against Muslim. And they defeat Jalal al-Din. Ibn al-Athir reports something, I don't know how true it is, but Ibn al-Athir says it. He says the Khalifa of the time, Mustansir Billah, I think, Nasr al-Din Allah, he said, وَفَعَلَ الْخَطِيئَ الَّتِي لَا تُغْتَفَرُ. He committed the sin that is not forgiven. He was afraid of Jalaluddin, so he sent to the Mongols. Jalaluddin is still alive. Meaning what? Come. And the Mongols responded. Jalaluddin is still alive. We didn't finish off the Khwarezmis. And after his defeat, now he faces the Mongols. And unfortunately, by himself. And I don't need to tell you what was the fate of this, right? It's obvious, right? So what ends up happening, the Mongols come and they defeat the armies of Jalaluddin. And Jalaluddin starts again the same thing, running away, escaping from the Mongols, right? It's a very sad story, right? Same like Muhammad ibn Khwarizm. Now, Jalaluddin is on the run, and it says like he meets one of the farmers. It's an interesting story. He meets one of the farmers, and the farmer look at him because he's rich, and he says, "Who are you?" He says, "Ana Sultan al-Khwarizmi. I'm the Sultan of the Khwarizmis, Jalaluddin." And the farmer said, "Oh, you, Jalaluddin, no problems. You're safe with me. Come home. I'll protect you." And he feeds him, and he's hospitable. And while Jalaluddin is sleeping, the guy gets his axe, cuts his head. Why? There is the lesson. The soldiers of Jalaluddin. Remember we said Jalaluddin attacked everybody? Remember what we said about the Khwarezmian soldiers? When they attack, what do? They're mercenaries, right? So when the soldiers of Jalaluddin attacked, and they killed the brother of this farmer and his family. So he was what? You're Jalaluddin, huh? You're soldiers, right? And you see here the idea that again, things turn around. In الدم لا ينام, as Salah ad-Din said, Salah ad-Din warned his children, do not shed blood unnecessarily. Blood never sleeps. So one statement from Salah ad-Din, right? The Mongols at this point, now it's an interesting part because what should they do, right? They shifted focus towards Russia and Europe. However, I will say this. By the way, this is a statement from Al-Ashraf al-Ayyubi. When Jalaluddin died, people went to some of the Ayyubi and told them, "Congratulations, your enemy, Jalaluddin, he was killed." And Ashraf al-Ayyubi said a very interesting statement. And it has something for us. Look what he said. "You congratulate me on the death of Jalaluddin by Allah. This will be the disaster for all of us. The Khwarezmi was the wall between us and Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Now we are to face the Mongol flood ourselves." What is he alluding to? You know the story in the Quran about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, remember? And what happened? Dhul Qarnayn built what? Wall. And what we know towards the end of time, what happens? The wall is broken, and then what? So he's making an analogy. The wall between us and Ya'juj and Ma'juj was this Khwarezmi, Jalaluddin. Now this wall is gone. What will happen to all of us? The next step of the Mongol is going to be where? Syria and the Abbasi Khilafah. So he's saying, what are you congratulating me? Yeah, he's my enemy, but this is foolish. We are next. Right? Right. Maybe we have some time to mention the story. Now, you see the Mongols took all the area of Central Asia and Iran. Now, what's their boundary? The Abbasi now, they are and the Abbasi Khilafah now starts to wake up. You know, from the deep slumber. The problem of the Abbasi Khilafah, it was so central, right? Like if you think about it, who was being attacked? There is some crusades over there. The Mongols are coming from over there, but Baghdad, because of its central location, was safe for centuries. For the first time, the enemy is at the doors of Baghdad. And the Khalifa, for some reason now, is, what's going to happen? And indeed, there's an excursion. The Mongols are starting to go towards the Abbasi lands. And the Khalifa calls for jihad. Come defend the Khilafah. The call of everybody. Come and help your Khalifa. And the Abbasi army is going to be with you. How many people responded? Nobody, remember? Except one person. There was one person who responded to the call. And it was very interesting. I was very interested to see that person, and I'll tell you why. His name is Muzaffar al-Din Kokburi. Muzaffar al-Din Kokburi is the last man surviving of the Salah ad-Din generation. That was one of the generals. He's actually married to the sister of Salah ad-Din. He was one of the heroes of the Battle of Hattin. He's one of those people, the past generation. He's 70 plus. This is the last of those men. So he, again, you see now the chivalry of the era of Salah ad-Din, the Khilafah is threatened, I'm here. And he said, I'm coming with everyone I have. And if the Khalifa gives me just 10,000, I will beat the Mongols in the battlefield. Muzaffar al-Din Kokburi said he was never defeated. Very formidable. He fought in Hattin, he was very well known, very generous person, right? And now he comes with his warriors, and the Abbasi Khilafah sends the army. The Abbasi army of the Khilafah. How many? 800. Literally. I don't need to tell you how pathetic that is. And you feel the frustration, you feel why Ibn al-Athir was saying, what are we speaking? Khalas, right? 800? And the interesting part, Muzaffar al-Din Kokburi said, I can't fight with this, right? But something interesting happened. Unexpected. When the Mongols came and saw the Muslims' army, they retreated. They decided not to enter Iraq. Why? A spiritual lesson and strategic lesson. See, when people are sincere and they do their part, Allah helps. You know what made them retreat? Their thought, the Abbasi Khilafah, the reputation of the Abbasi Khilafah in the time, the Khalifa of the Muslims, the weight of the word Abbasi Khilafah is heavy. The Khalifa of Islam is heavy. They had such reverence that the Mongols feared the Abbasi Khilafah. So when they saw the army of the Abbasi Khilafah, they're expecting what? This is the army that conquered the world. So when they see 3,000, 4,000, what did they think? Ambush. Yeah, we see what they're doing. And should we enter Iraq? We're not prepared for this. This means what? We have to have the army to meet the army of the Khilafah, right? Later, Hulagu, when he attempts this, he gets 200,000 soldiers. This is how much the Khilafah meant for them, right? We're not ready. And the Mongols retreated. SubhanAllah, the barakah of some sincere men, right? نصرت بالرعب مسيرة شهرين, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that Allah gives victory to this ummah sometimes by throwing terror in the hearts of other people. But it shows chivalry and sincerity, and that those people, they exist in all times. Right? And this is again what you see Allah's doing to the Muslims: respect. Think twice. Here's another buffer. And the Mongols stopped the invasion. For the next 10 to 15 years, the Mongols' focus was Europe, Russia, Hungary, Poland. I'm not going to, but they swept Eastern Europe. They went all the way till Germany. Right? So the next 10 years, Muslims are completely spared. The Mongols are focused on Europe. What do you think the Muslims are doing? When you read even the books of history, as if the problem is gone. As if it was something. And what about Bukhara and Samarkand? As if they didn't exist. Muslims in Sham and everybody's minding his business. The Mongol problem is as if it doesn't exist. So the Muslims at the time did not use this time to do what? Prepare for what's coming, right? Which is inevitable. They're coming back for you. Don't just sleep, right? This was the lesson. Right? Like, here's something interesting, right? Now comes the news from Europe. Europe hears about the destruction of the Khwarizmis, and that there's this Mongols that destroyed the Muslims and are on the gates of Baghdad. So the Christians started to think, in what way? God sent help against our dear enemy, right? So now there is this king coming from the east, and we are coming from the west, and the Muslims are trapped. So it's a good opportunity to. It's like, okay, we have a common enemy. So the Pope sends a letter to the Khan, offering what?
Friendship.
You see what happened? He's offering what? Alliance. It failed miserably. Why? What was the problem? Who's that? Do you know who you're speaking to? The followers of Genghis Khan. Who are you? And we do not understand alliance. This is not in our vocabulary. Alliance means me and you are equal. Alliance means you serve. My friends are my servants. Who do you think? And he said, this is an offense. You're sending a letter? No, no, no. All the kings of Europe and yourself, you come in front of me, then we talk. Come kneel in front of me and tell me we want to be under you. That's an alliance. But alliance and me convert to Christianity? So it failed miserably. Right? And it tells you the image of the Mongols, like they did not, they viewed themselves, eventually we destroyed Europe, we're on the gates of Germany, and the kingdom we have from China, Korea, Central Asia, who are you? You're next guy, right? So this failed miserably to the fortune of the Muslims, right? And as you can see now, I want you to just imagine the size of this is the greatest, the largest empire history knows that is continuous. Throughout history is that Mongol Empire. It's so vast, the lands they took, right? And they stopped right here, and you can see the next chapter is what? Right there, right? How much do we stop here? When is Salah?
That's your question. We can go for 10-15 minutes.
Right. I mentioned something, and this is very important. Now you can see there is a break. And as I said, the next 10-15 years, we're speaking the year 630 Hijri, convert at 600. So 1230, roughly, right? So we're speaking 630 Hijri all the way till 640, right? What happened? The Muslims here are safe. And now what about the Muslims living in Samarkand and Bukhara under the Mongols? How was life under the Mongols? What do you think it was like? The Mongols offered something really interesting that was a challenge for the Muslim thought. They offered religious freedom, tolerance. We care less about what religion you follow. You are free. You want to worship in the masjid, go ahead. You want to worship in the church, go ahead. You want to be a Muslim, Christian, Buddhist. Basically, we are very tolerant with religion. Sounds good, right? However, they said the following, right? The way they defined it is we're tolerant to religion in terms of your rituals. You can be a Muslim inside this masjid. You step outside, what rules apply? Sharia? What rules? Yes, rules. So basically the idea of secularism. That you can be a Muslim, but Muslims can be secular. Your religion is inside your institution, not outside. This was new for the Muslims. The Muslims had the concept at the time that when we speak about ibadah, it has rituals, but obedience and submission. And we only obey the ruler when he obeys Allah. And that our deen, we obey Allah not only in the masjid. Family matters, divorce, business, everything, right? So here comes the idea that no. You see those two arrows? Rituals goes to Allah, but obedience goes to who? You got the idea? Now, we can be a Muslim, fast Ramadan, do some dhikr, do some dua, great. But when it comes to obedience and rules, and you rule with the yes. And now some Muslims said it's not that. The idea of the church and the state. And that's why the Muslim theologians of that time, Ibn Kathir and Ibn Taymiyyah, they're very big on this. Because now, later on, Muslims will say, what? It's not a bad idea, we can still rule with the yasa. Later on, Muslims thought it like, why is that system bad anyway, right? Just keep Islam within the masjid. Let's not, don't intermingle with politics or economy or anything else. Right? So a lot of the theologians of the time and the scholars had to speak against, is this acceptable? So that was a big thing that the Muslims encountered at the time. I just wanted to mention that, right? The idea of secular rule. Right. Now, what is happening. So we're speaking here, right? And there is a break for the next 10 years. In that break, the Muslim Ummah was not spared. There was another attempt from the other side. There will be another crusade. Egypt, Sham, and the Seventh Crusade, right? And I'll introduce it and then we continue after Salah, inshallah. So what was happening in the East? We're going to switch now, right? So the kingdom of Salah ad-Din is now split, as you can see. And to keep it simple, two main figures. That's all what I want. Egypt, under one of the descendants of Salah ad-Din, his name is Najd ad-Din. And this is one of the better children and grandchildren of Salah ad-Din, as you'll see, right? And I think his own uncle, Salih Ismail, you don't have to remember the name, in Damascus. Those two were fighting day and night. But something happens where Salih Ismail takes a step that really, really will change things. He decided, Egypt is big, I cannot take Egypt by myself. I don't have enough resources. Right? So how can I take Egypt from my brother? I need the help of other forces. What other forces do we have? Speak about this later. So he offers an alliance with the Franks. Right? At the time, Jerusalem was back with the Muslims. Jerusalem, by the way, was almost like a trading port at this point. So he offers them, I'll give you Jerusalem again, in return that you give me your army, and we attack Egypt together. And furthermore, Damascus was known for swords. He said, your soldiers can come to Damascus, buy the weapons necessary for them to fight Egyptians. Just imagine what I'm speaking about. And scholars, a great scholar that lived in the time, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, he rose and he started speaking that in Damascus, that this is completely not allowed. You should not deal with any of the Franks. You cannot sell weapons for them to kill your Muslims. The fact that he, the ruler, allies himself with the Franks is not acceptable, and he started making dua for Allah to replace wicked rulers with good rulers. Right? And I mentioned this. Salih Ismail, that ruler, was upset with Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, of course, and he decides to catch him and capture him. But he couldn't kill him. So he kept him under what? Iqama Jabriya, house arrest kind of. And Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam kept what he's doing. Now, an interesting just scene for you. When the forces gathered, the Franks and the army of Syria, and they're marching, they're going to head to Cairo. So he's negotiating with the Franks. The Franks came to meet the Sultan. And Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, that great scholar, has a tent beside the king. Right? And then he was reciting Quran. And the Franks came to meet the Sultan. And he told them, did you hear this man over there reciting? And they said, yes. He said, you know this man? He's the greatest sheikh of the Muslims. And I arrested him because he was speaking ill against you. The Franks responded with the following. He said, this man that we saw, if this man was in our camp, we would wash his feet and drink the water that comes from him. This is a saint. Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam had such a power. And then he had such reverence that even the Franks, just hearing him recite Quran, they viewed him as what? This is a holy man. And you will see Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is instrumental. Salih Ismail made a big mistake. He carried Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam in the army with him, right? What do you think Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is doing now? What do you think is happening with the soldiers? And people, remember, they see this is the legacy of Salah ad-Din. We see a ruler that's bad. But Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, and he was known, if you read his biography, he was known for his righteousness, his uprightness. People loved him. So you will see the result of this, inshallah, after we come from Salah, and we speak more about what happened and the Mamluks, right? So inshallah, we'll stop here and we continue after Salah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair.
It's easy question.
কেন অল্প করে নিয়ে আসছো